Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We are here to have such great conversation about voting. And right now, Mr. Franco is with us, and I will let him talk to us a little bit about the project today.
Thank you, Diocelyn. Good morning, everyone. As you know, the deadline for voter registration and the national election is just around the corner, and some of our seniors will be eligible to vote. Some of our community members will be first-time voters, and as an integral part of the Wyandotte community, we partnered with El Centro, Urban Works, this podcast, the Midwest Chicana podcast, and of course, with our students at FL Schlagle High School to help remind, inform, and educate our community about, the deadline for voter registration, how can they register to vote, and the importance of their vote. So in line with this, our students will be here or are here to participate in this live podcast, and we very much appreciate you for giving us that opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Franco, for giving us that rundown. And this is so amazing because we definitely need this. And the fact that these students are taking leadership on this is more amazing than ever because these are the voices that we need to hear. These are the voices that are going to become voters. And hey, they need to get engaged. And I'm super excited to see them here. I'm super excited to have everybody. And again, this is another segment of Midwest Chicana podcast with the special event today of having FL Schlagle student, Irene Caudillo, Commissioner Christian Ramirez, and Randy Lopez with us today. And you guys will see them shortly. But let's start with the information session. And we will have you guys meet our famous students right now. So thank you, Mr. Franco, and we'll give them the space. So hi guys, we are ready for you guys, and I will remove myself so you guys can go on and teach us more about why voting is important.
Hello everyone, I'm Thomas, and I'm a junior at Schlagle High School. My peers and I are here to encourage, inform, and remind everyone about voter registration and the importance of voting. As you all know, the government touches all aspects of our lives. Therefore, we must ensure we put the right people in place. Debemos de asegurarnos de escoger las personas correctas en los puestos correctos. It's important to vote because neighborhoods and communities that vote get more attention from candidates and office holders. They're less likely to get attention if they don't vote, if they don't participate in elections. Also, we need to register to vote and vote on election day because we want our voices heard. We don't want others to decide for us. No queremos otros decidiendo por nosotros. Furthermore, when we vote, we send a message to the community that we want something changed. Now, as you know, our right to vote wasn't handed to us on a silver platter. And Malia will briefly talk about the history and the progress and the work that still needs to be done.
My name is Malia McCooney, and I'm a senior at Schlagle High School. And as Thomas said, our ancestors fought for this right, and part of honoring the struggle is practicing our right to vote. As you all know, in the 1700s, only those who have led land are the ones who were given the right to vote. Then, after a century of struggle, African Americans were given the right to vote through the 15th Amendment. It was not after another 150 years through the Civil Rights Movement that we truly got the right to vote. Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement led many protests to fight the racial, economic, and political barriers that were set to prevent African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans, women, and the LGBTQ community from voting. As I have said, now that we have this right, we should practice it, we should register, and we should vote. Now, what are the requirements to register to vote in Wyandotte County, Kansas? You will need to be a U.S. citizen, 18 years old, a resident of Wyandotte County, and the Kansas law requires you to have a driver's license or a non-driver's license ID or your social security number. Now that we've talked about the importance of voting, the history, and what you need to register to vote, Aaliyah will talk about how to register to vote.
Hello everyone, I'm Aaliyah, and here's how to register to vote. There are 3 ways to register: online, paper, and in person. For online access, if you have your driver's license or non-driver's license identification card, you are eligible to register online. For the website, it's pretty easy. You just follow the steps and instructions on the website. When you're done, submit your application. If you would like to register on paper instead, then you don't need your driver's license number or non-driver's license ID number. So you need to get the PDF form link or call into 913-573-8500 to get the form. Fill the form out, then submit it. There's a drop box at the Wyandotte County Elections Office. You can mail it, scan it, email it, or fax it. So if you want to fill out the form in person, you will need to go to these following locations: Wyandotte County Elections Office on State, City Hall on 7th Street, Bonnet Springs City Hall, the Edwardsville City Hall, the DMV, public census offices, and any public libraries. Now, what if you change your address or change your last name or decide to change party affiliations? Well, if you did one of these, you need to update your registration by filling out a new registration form. Now that we talked about how to register to vote, what should we talk about next? Of course, we'll talk about how you vote, and Thomas will walk us through that process.
As Lilia mentioned, some people in Wyandotte County choose to cast their vote in person, either at an early vote center or on election day at their polling place. So, arrive at your chosen early vote center or voting on election day at your assigned polling place. When you walk in, there'll be a check-in table set up. They'll check your identification and we'll begin the voting process. You can either vote using paper ballots or touchscreen voting for disabled people.
Now, given our situation, some voters will choose to cast their vote using mail-in ballots. You can apply online to receive your ballot or contact the Wyandotte County Elections Office to get your ballot. Once you receive it, you will need your county, state, and election date, your name, address, date of birth, social security number, or your driver's license number, party affiliation, your signature, then the date. Lastly, make sure your vote gets in the mail on time.
Here are some important dates. Voter registration deadline is October 13th, so all y'all seniors who are eligible to vote, make sure you register to vote and vote on election day. Request mail-in ballot is October 27th. Early voting days is from October 14th to November 2nd. Then general election day is November 3rd. So I need all my friends, my teachers, and everyone watching this podcast to vote on November 3rd. Last day to return mail-in ballot is November 6th.
I hope that all eligible voters in Wyandotte County register to vote and vote on election day.
Thank you guys so much for this information. We really appreciate it. So guys, you just heard all this information, how easy it is to go voting, the different forms and the different deadlines. And right now, before we get on to more conversations with different panelists and our students, we are going to show a special message that our district attorney sent to us, Mark Dupree. So let us share this real quick with you all, and we'll be right back to our next segment.
Voting Rights Act of 1965. And he told me about all of the things that our government had to go through and all of the many people who had to sacrifice their lives to give every person, male, female.
I am so sorry, you guys. I will start this video over real quick. I have put myself on mute, so I will restart it. I apologize for that.
I'm Mark Dupree, your Wyandotte County District Attorney. And it is indeed a pleasure and an honor to speak to you today about the importance of voting. I was just a young child when my father, the late Pastor Alvin Dupree, taught me the importance of voting. He said, son, you have to make sure that your voice is heard. And if you care about this community, being from the dot my entire life, if you really care, you need to make sure you get involved and you voice your opinion. And how did he teach me to do that? He taught me about the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And he told me about all of the things that our government had to go through and all of the many people who had to sacrifice their lives to give every person, male, female, black, brown, white, an opportunity to actually have an option to vote. And he told me, son, if you really want to be heard, you will get up and you will go to the polls, because that is what matters. When it comes down to life, when it comes down to the things that matter, we need to make sure that we're willing to sacrifice sometimes sleep, sometimes our hours, sometimes just standing in line. But we cannot complain about life and anything that's happening in our community if we are not exercising the right to vote. So today, as your elected district attorney, I encourage you to get up and go to the polls. Let your voice be heard, not just by you, but grab a friend, grab a family member, because yes, it's still cool to vote. Go to the polls and vote this year. Be blessed. I'm Mark Dupree.
Okay, guys, this was a great message by our district attorney. And with that same energy, we want to continue going forward and welcome our guest. Mr. Franco, would you like to take over and introduce our guest?
Yeah, thank you, Jocelyn. So once again, it's just amazing to be with our students and of course with our panel today. To our viewers, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. So let's start and introduce our panel. First off, we have Randy Lopez, who's our District 500 School Board President. We have Irene Caudillo, the CEO, President of El Centro. And we also have Commissioner Christian Ramirez, District 3 Commissioner. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. We are going to include our students. And Malia, take us with the first question.
Good morning, panelists. I'm Malia from Schlagle High School, and our first question is, why is registering to vote and voting important to you and to our community? And anyone in the panel can answer this.
I can definitely start if you'd like for us to just try not to be shy, Commissioner and Randy. Listen, we have, and it's been expressed by you as students and the district attorney, a long road that's taken us to have this right and privilege granted to us to be that voice and have a voice for our issues, who we'd like to support, giving us really that opportunity to make change. And we've gotten here with a long history, but we've also gotten walls put up to prevent our vote. And it is very important that we take that right and privilege and use it in a way that tears down those barriers and really gets our voice heard. And typically it's low income, people of color populations where barriers are set up. And so it's really important for us to make sure that we are utilizing that right and letting our voice be heard.
I couldn't have said any better than Irene said, but also it's it's important because it gives us a chance to have a seat at the table that many of us may not be able to have. You know, Randy and I, we definitely have a seat at the table. We've been elected to our positions, but for any normal citizen, this is your way to have the same seat at the table as Randy and I have, to have your voice heard. And so that's why I think it's very important, and important for our community, because Wyandotte County, we're a low socioeconomic community, and the only way we're going to get out of that is to vote and get people into office who are going to make that change. So that is why I stress every day to everyone that I talk to and speak to register to vote and to go to those polls.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Randy. First off, I just want to say thank you to all of you for putting this together, and to our panelists. This is great to see. Go Schlagle Stallions. You guys are awesome for putting this together and for sharing this information, especially for our young people as you're getting ready to vote, maybe for the first time in your life. This is an amazing experience. And I think, as Irene said, as Commissioner said, this is an experience that you should hold highly and be proud of when you get to vote. So many people, as Irene has said, so many people have sacrificed so much in the past so that we have this opportunity to get out there and make your voices heard, to be able to stand up and vote for who you believe in, who you want to see in office, whether it's for the presidential election and all the way down to local elections. They are all so valuable and important because these are the people that are going to make decisions on our behalf, right? And so for you to be able to share your voice and to share with your peers why it's so important and that your one vote does matter, it's so critical. So I applaud all of you students for putting this together, sharing this information, and it's just so valuable to have your voices heard.
Thank you so much, panelists, for responding to the first question. I think Aaliyah, what's our next question?
Good morning, panelists. I'm Aaliyah from Fonseca High School. Thank you so much for your insights on these questions. Our next question is, how did you feel about voting when you were younger?
I can jump in. I have the privilege of being a part of a family who, my father was a veteran in World War II and truly believed in this country and believed in civic engagement. His motto to his kids were basically all you have is to give. So civic engagement was important. And I can remember as young, just even walking as a toddler with my older brothers and sisters, neighborhood cleanup. But my first experience was really at a young age, even around 7 or 8, when you would not, even maybe parents would not remember, but when the Nixon-McGovern presidential came in, actually McGovern came into Kansas City, and being at the Union Station with a number of people, not knowing what the heck was going on. But what I valued the most was a civic class in high school. And civics taught you kind of the relevance of the whole, just kind of from the governance structures to voting, and it was, we participated in campaigns growing up. So I was doing canvassing at 10, 11, 12. I was doing protest at 12, 13, 14 for civil rights and engagement. And it really was a pattern of in the home as well as outside the home in really engaging in so much that was important to not only my family, but to a community. So to me, it just ran in the blood, and it ran throughout, my life as a way that we had to be a part of the solutions and a part of the movement in an effort to make a change. So it's just embedded in me. That's been my upbringing and kind of lifestyle as we continue to do this work.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would also just share, so my parents both immigrated here from Mexico, right? So they were not citizens when they first moved here. They became naturalized citizens later in their life. And so for them, like to see the importance that they were able to vote after becoming citizens here, they took that as a huge, just responsibility, and we're so proud. And I remember my dad and my mom, they would talk to us about why it's so important to vote, and that they that they weren't able to vote for a long time while they were living here, but then through naturalization, they were able to vote. And so for them, it was so meaningful to have that opportunity, as the commissioner said, to have that voice, have that seat at the table, and to be able to express who they wanted to vote for. So I got to see that firsthand with my parents, right? And really learn how important it was for them. And that made it more important and meaningful for myself as well. And then similar to Irene, growing up in high school, doing similar things to what you all are doing, participating in civic engagement groups, talking about the importance of voting, being a part of leadership programs that stressed, being a part of community by being civically active. It just made it that much more important for me to continue to voice and to vote.
Right, thank you for that, Ms. Caudillo and Mr. Lopez. And definitely, I agree with what you guys said about being part of any leadership program. And Schlagle is doing a wonderful job in providing our students with that opportunity. So thank you, Thomas. Let's go to your question.
Yeah, I was wondering, were you taught by members of your family or community that voting is important to anyone in the panel?
For me, and this kind of goes into kind of the question we had just a minute ago. It wasn't until 4 years ago when I started being serious about voting. When I turned 18, I voted, but it was a routine thing to do. I didn't really understand the importance of it until 4 years ago in a certain election. I would say my community more so was the one that taught me the importance of voting. More my family too, but more importantly the community. Seeing everyone who was being active, seeing I had friends and coworkers who were very active in what they were doing and voting and being civically engaged. So they were the ones that taught me, but I'm happy they did. And now it's my turn to do that for our next group of people who are coming up into becoming new voters. So I would, like I said, be my community.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. We have a question before I give the mic to Aaliyah for her next question. We have a question from our audience. So the first question is, how long have you been doing this advocacy work?
Oh man, I mean, I'll just jump in real quick. I think since very similar to our student panelists from high school, right? Like I said earlier, I was involved in some civic engagement groups. I remember the Hispanic Leadership Opportunity Program that I was a part of. And even at school, talking about civic engagement. So, my earliest records that I remember were from high school, just learning about what it meant to be active in my community, right? And that's a big step in and of itself, because sometimes when we're young, we think, oh, like people aren't going to take us seriously, or we can't really add anything to these discussions. But man, let me tell y'all, like young people are at the heart of every movement that we see nationally, both now and historically. So like for me, learning some of that in high school were some of my earliest, records of thinking about being civically active and supporting advocacy work.
For me, again, it's only been 4 years since I've been doing this, and it's been a very good, long, informative 4 years. It doesn't take a lot. You just need to take that one step of being engaged, and it'll take you many different ways. And so I'm very happy to have taken that one step, and I hope all of you take that one step and become more engaged, not with voting, but also with the community around you.
Right.
So,
thank you for that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I have answered that, because I think this has been a lifelong effort for me. But what I want to really jump in and say is that El Centro's role in advocacy is also long-term. And I want to reference Randy's comment in regard to the youth's response and responsibility. Because when I think about when El Centro kind of gathered, and the idea is to really build leadership in a way that gets folks to understand that the way we can make change is through efforts that they lead. And so if it's bothering you, let's figure out how we make some changes, right? And we do that in a way that's really important to build leadership and to build that base of people in our community to make that change. So El Centro saw or heard from a number of Latino parents back in the early 2000s about, my kids, they're, because of status, I don't know how to get them to college. And it really was the undocumented parents and young people who actually got in-state tuition in the state of Kansas. It was actually the young people who are currently with DACA status who got DACA passed, because adults were trying to get the DREAM Act passed, and we worked really hard during the 2010 to get the DREAM Act, but it wasn't really until young people pushed the president for that executive order. And I think what makes an impact and what we need to understand is that, particularly for the Latino community, El Centro knows that there's about close to 1 million young people that turn 18 every year. And who is going to tip this election for the presidency is going to be the young people. So what's important for us is to make sure that whether you are in a household that is eligible or holds elections or are voting as something that's common or important to you, what we need to make sure is that as young people, they understand the pathway driven is through their efforts to make sure that their voice is heard through not just a vote, but also the involvement that they have in the issues that are important to them. So young people, we're counting on you, but we're here to definitely support. And we think it's important for you to most definitely tell us what you need and to help us as I kind of get older and you really kind of help set the stage for my kids and grandkids.
All right, thank you so much for that response. And I hope everyone who's listening, especially our youth, to remember what Ms. Caudillo said. You guys are going to tip this election. So
It's gonna be
like what, yeah, like what they said. If you don't vote, you are ignoring your history and giving away your future. Okay. So with that, let's go to our next question. We have time for a couple more. Aaliyah.
Hi again, this is Aaliyah. Thank you for your insight on the last questions. The next question is, have you ever voted for something that passed and that piece of legislation made a meaningful difference in your life or other people's lives?
Well, I will say, not only did I vote for it, but I'm going to do a more recent one that is definitely, hopefully, you're seeing, and it has impacted you as students, is in 2015, is it 2015? 2016. 2016, a bond referendum that came into Wyandotte County was really important. And one of the things that it was intended to do is to really take a look at Wyandotte County schools and make an impact into infrastructure. And not only was I canvassing and riding through neighborhoods and walking the path, but that was a vote that I thought was really important for the future of you as students in our district. And you should be seeing that in renovations of schools, in new schools, as well as some other things that hopefully continue to impact in years to come. And I thought that was really important because not only was I a part of the team to make sure that we put that on for community to vote, but it was going to be a long road for people to say yes because of increased taxes. There was a lot of things that we had to talk about and hold true, but I think that's a recent important vote for me that I hope you're seeing and it's impacting you as students.
And as you say that, Irene, I mean, it takes me back to that year as well. I remember that year I actually got brought onto that committee to help push for the bond as well. And I remember the work that you and so many other folks were doing at the time. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to be a part of that committee to help with some of the just marketing about like why it's so important. And now, I mean, back then I had no idea that I would ever run for school board. And here I am now, you know, on the school board and seeing the fruits of the labor of you and so many others who put in the time and the effort to make sure that folks were aware of the bond referendum that was going on and then to pass the bond. And now this month we're going to have 3 ribbon cuttings for 3 different schools. I'm trying to remember Lowell Bruni Elementary, West Park Elementary, and Carl Bruce Elementary. And those are, you know, those happened because of the work that you and so many others put in at the time back then and that vote. And so, you know, you as students and our future students are being set up for so much success because of one issue that we took on that year to improve the infrastructure of our schools. And that's going to have an impact for generations to come. And so I'm grateful for things like that. So see, I mean, that's an example of, it's not just elections at the national level that are so important, but the local level elections are super important. And that's often where you can feel the impact as a community member. You'll see the impact right away on some of those votes. So that's a great example. I love that example, Irene.
All right. Before we go to our last question, by the way, thank you so much for responding to our previous question. Before we go to our last one, there's another question from our viewers. In your opinion, panel, in what way will COVID affect this election?
It can have. I honestly, it really can't have that much of an effect because look in the primary, our primary, we had a lot of people vote. It was amazing. Our election commissioner, he said that they had sent, I can't remember the correct amount, but they sent out thousands of mail-in ballots. And he said 95% of those ballots returned to the election office. He said that is the highest return rate Wyandotte County has ever had for mail-in ballots. So it shows mail-in voting works. If you're not comfortable going to a polling place, go vote early so that there's not very many people there, or turn in a mail-in ballot. I don't think it'll affect us unless we take the necessary precautions to protect and keep our community safe. I personally don't think it will make an effect. If we have the strong will to vote, we will find that way to vote. And it's important for us to keep that strong will.
Thank you for that response, Commissioner. Thomas, can you lead us to our final question for today?
My final question was really an overall message. What's your message to students and young adults who are eligible to vote in this upcoming election? And what's your message to the community as a whole? To anyone in the panel.
So say that again, overall message to voters, to young voters, and what was the other part?
Basically, the question was, yeah, go ahead, Thomas.
And the community.
what is your message to students and young adults who are eligible to vote in this upcoming election? And what's your overall message to our community?
So I can start by saying we have an incredible task to be able to get over, whether it is fear of coronavirus, fear of mail-in ballots, but a responsibility in this community to make sure that our voice is heard. And what I would say is that what is on the ballot are the issues and people that are making decisions for you that are on the ballot regarding economics, regarding healthcare, regarding our economy, I should say, economy, healthcare, coronavirus, the whole unrest in ethnic identity, immigration, whatever impacts you, even particularly today, those folks who are making decisions at the state level, so all of our representatives at the state are on the ballot, right? They're the ones that are making decisions at the state level, and you have an opportunity to decide who is best meeting your needs. We also have the same issues on the ballot for presidential election. And I said it before and I'll say it again, young people will tip that vote. Our Black and brown students are most important to be able to say you have a voice, make it heard in this election, and just know what's important is that you have the ability to decide. We're not telling you who, we're telling you to get educated and have that opportunity to place your vote.
Yeah, I'll echo, what Irene said. I think it's so important. First, I'll just say thank you to the students, to Mr. Franco for putting this together today. Ms. Thompson, I think you're watching. You've got a great group of students and staff. So thank you for helping them, support them to speak their voice and share this with their peers. This is so awesome to see. I think, a message is just, hey, like you have an opportunity to express your thoughts through your vote, and you have to take that and be proud of it. I mean, it's something that your parents, grandparents, their grandparents have fought for. Our country, our community has fought for this right for years and has sacrificed so much. And so we owe it to them, but we owe it to ourselves as well to get out there and make our voices heard. And you young people are, like Irene said, really at the heart of making any movement happen. And so we need you. We need you to get out to the polls and to vote. Regardless of who you're voting for, we need you to get out there and vote. And I would say, someone mentioned on the chat, it looked like that, hey, if you're not 18 yet and you can't vote, you can still participate in this election process. You can help, put out yard signs or go volunteer at the polls as well on election day to help people vote. There are ways that you can still volunteer and help. And then I would say, make a plan. Make sure you have a plan on election day or before that on how you're actually going to vote, whether it's a mail-in ballot, whether it's going to vote early, or whether it's on election day. But make sure you have a plan and take 10 people with you to go and vote too, because we need y'all to get out there and vote. And so for me, this is exciting. I just want to say thank you to you all for spreading this message. It's so necessary, so needed, and you all are exactly the people that we need to spread this message loud and clear. So this is really cool to see and so exciting. And so I'm very proud of you all as just a school board member, but just as a community member, to see the fire that you all are putting into our community by talking about voting. So to all of our students watching as well, you have a responsibility to get out there and vote too. So I want to see you out there voting on election day. post pictures on your social media of your sticker that you voted. Just get out there and do it, man, because we can do this together. We can get out there and vote and make a difference, and that's why we're here. So thank you all for doing this.
And just quickly for me, my message to you, and this is a cliche saying that a lot of people say, is, our young people are the future, but no, our young people are now. You guys, like Irene and Randy, keep saying, right now in every election in the future, you hold the political power. You hold the political power to change elections, to change your community, and to have a seat at the table, to give other people that opportunity to speak for you. So as all of us keep saying, please vote. And then Randy said, if you can't vote, that doesn't mean you can't stay out of it. Talk to your family, talk to your friends especially your family members who don't normally vote. Talk to them. Have that conversation with neighbors, with people you see at the store or walking on the sidewalk. Just have those conversations, because you are the now. You can make a lot of change with just checking a box at a poll. So I hope you all take everything that you've heard today and put it to practice. It'll be amazing to see how many of you come out to vote in this election and in future elections. Thank you to everyone and all of the Schlagle students who put this on. This is amazing, and I hope we do continue to do this in the future.
Commissioner, not just come out to vote, but I am so anxious to see how many of them turn out like you two, who actually put their name on a ballot to be voted for. So I want you guys to think about that too. Thank you for serving, both of you. We appreciate your service, and to the students, we look forward to seeing what's yet to come from you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you, students. I'll give the mic to our students to do our final thank yous.
Well, we would just like to say to everyone, thank you for everyone who made this possible, bringing you guys out here and giving us information, supporting the community and us, and giving us what we need. And thank you to Ms. Dioslin and Mr. Franco for hosting this podcast and collaborating with Schlagle.
Thanks to our panelists, Mr. Randy Lopez, Ms. Irene Caudillo, and Commissioner Christian Ramirez. Thanks to District Attorney Mark Dupree for the powerful video on the importance of voting.
Thank you to our partners, El Centro, Urban Works, Midwest Chichana Podcast, to our administrators, teachers, and our school at Fonseca High School. And thanks to our peers from Schlagle who are watching this live podcast. Have a great day, everyone.
So thank you, everybody. I can definitely say that we had such a great time with you all, panelists. Once more, thank you so much for giving us your time. This is all that we wanted. We wanted to make sure that the students are heard, that they are in the lead. And as you guys can see, they are ready. They are ready to take over. So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. And anybody who's hearing out there, if you guys have questions or anything else, please remember that this is a spot that you guys can connect, look into it. And I did read something like, when is the next segment? So, hey, there's an idea. You guys can start your own podcast. You guys can start doing these conversations as students, as teacher, staff. Please don't let this be the end. Continue these conversations. And now you guys see that there's a whole network right here that's willing to help you guys and are ready to support you.
In Dioslin, one of the things to introduce to the kids is KS Votes, which is they're so online, real easy to do for their advanced votes. And you teach them that, they'll teach their friends. So ksvotes.org, it's easy to even go on there to register and to get the advanced ballot.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Irene, for saying that. That is definitely correct. And I'll add one more thing. You guys can go to El Centro, and they will help guide you guys in that as well. If you guys have
That too. That too.
So if you guys have any questions, please, again, we are all here. We all want you guys to be there, be the voices, and start leading. So one more, thank you guys. Have a great day, and go out and vote. Remember, October 13th, last day to register. November 3rd, we need to see you guys at those polls. Have a great one, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day. Thank you.
Dr. Franco.